Today we're going to discuss retiring in a different country. My experience is in Southeast Asia, so that's what we're going to talk about. I made a list here on my phone and I'm going to try to follow it. So wish us luck here. Maybe it'll come out okay. A lot of people have the dream of retiring early. Retiring early is not easy. I did it and I've got friends that have done it, and we'll try to share some of those experiences too. But overall, most people are going to wait until they get their pension or their Social Security or whatever before they decide to retire, especially if they're going to another country. The first thing that you really have to do is decide if you want to leave. Most people have attachments to their home country, and they need to decide whether they can break those attachments. Because honestly, when you move to another country, those attachments definitely weaken. And so if you have friends or you have family in another country, it's hard to keep in touch. And even with the internet and everything, it's just not easy to stay in touch with people. Another thing is your stuff. You know, everybody has stuff. You've got furniture, you've got collections of things, you have homes, you have real estate, assets, and you have to decide if you're willing to leave that. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a big decision. Retiring early really adds a lot of other issues to the whole proposition of retiring. If you retire early, you have to have income, and passive income or some way to support yourself in another country without working. And most people don't have a lot of savings to move somewhere and stay 4 or 5 years without income. So unless you have a passive income of some sort or you have work in another country, it's kind of tough. The main thing that I think you should do before you leave your home country is do a lot of research and decide what country you really want to go to. In Southeast Asia, there's a lot of different countries, and they all have different regulations for visas. They have different opportunities for work. They have different living conditions. So I really think it's a good idea to get online, watch YouTube videos, study articles, Wikipedia. The State Department puts out things on different countries. So it's really a good thing to make your research come first before you really decide what country you're going to go to or that you're even going to go. The other thing that's important is make sure that you have income for your stay and for emergencies while you're there and before your pensions and things kick in. You'll need it. You never know if there's going to be an emergency or not, but it's good to be prepared. You know, another big issue is if you're going to bring family with you. Every person that comes with you multiplies the problem by about 10. So you definitely want to consider that. There's a lot of extra cost involved if you come with your family. Everybody's going to have a visa, everybody's going to have a passport, everyone's going to have to renew their visas. You're going to have to take care of the health and education for those children, or if you're bringing your spouse, you have to make sure that she's going to like it. Otherwise, you're going to have family issues. So it's a big decision to bring family with you. A single guy like myself or a single woman that decides to move to Southeast Asia can make the decision pretty easily. But if you've got family, you really have to think about it. It's definitely not the same here as living in the United States or Western Europe. When you come to Southeast Asia, a lot of things are going to be shocking to you. It's not an easy environment to come to without having some empathy or compassion for the people that you see. There's so many people that are poor, or that some beggars on the street, and really old people that are out selling things to stay afloat. It's kind of hard. It's not what we're used to seeing. And you have to be able to deal with that. Gifts and generosity is not going to help. The problem's going to stay here for a while. It'll be here until the country develops the infrastructure and the social support systems to make things better. Most of the countries are working on it, but quite honestly, it's far behind what we have in our countries. So how much money do you need if you want to come over here and retire? Well, it all depends on how you want to live. If you want to live like locals, in local type housing and things like that, you can get by pretty reasonably. In the country I'm in, Vietnam, here in Saigon, in the city, you can live okay for maybe $1,000 a month. But if you want to live in a really nice high-rise apartment and have a swimming pool and all this kind of thing, you can easily run your monthly overhead up to a couple of $1,000s a month. So you have to take that into consideration. Also, transportation's an issue. Do you want to buy a car? Can you get by with a motorbike? Can you get by with public transit? That's all things that you need to consider. And so you definitely need to research it before you make a move. And a lot of people think they're going to come over to Southeast Asia and show them how business is done. Well, got news for you. It's not easy. First of all, the countries here, nearly all of them, put up a lot of barriers to having a business. Ownership barriers. A lot of them require that your spouse or another partner own, if your spouse is from that country, a citizen, they require that your spouse owns most of the business or most of your property, at least 51%. A lot of countries require business partners that own 51% of your country. Philippines, for example, requires that you have a Philippine partner as a 51% holder of your business investment. Also, it's just not easy to deal with all the local governments and regulations and rules that you'll encounter in the different countries. So just thinking you're going to come over and start a business, you know, that your hot dog stand's going to be a winner, may be a lot harder than you think. It's going to be hard to start, it's going to be hard to support, and you may not get the business you think. I've seen a lot of businesses in Vietnam fail because the culture just doesn't appreciate that particular type of business. They want to either shop in their own places or eat in their own places, and what you offer is not generally of interest to them. So that's a big problem. I watched a lot of people in the Philippines when I was living there. I watched a lot of people that came over and maybe they were only there a couple of weeks, and they see a business like maybe a little bar or a restaurant, and they think, wow, man, I can do better than these guys. I can open a place and I'll be the king of this operation around here. Well, it doesn't happen that way. I've seen so many business failures because people think that they know more than the people that are already there running businesses. And you really have to be careful when you try to start something. Another thing is of course, teaching. And I have a lot of videos on teaching, and I've got another big one coming up, so I'm not really going to go into that. But there are countries here where you can make a pretty decent wage teaching English. That's okay, but there are countries where you can't. Philippines, for example, it's hard to make $5 an hour teaching English over there because most people teach English. They teach it in school, in the public schools. So there's really not a big demand for it. If you go to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, places like that, there is some demand for teaching English. And also there's opportunities for online teaching too. You've got to make sure that you're in a country where the internet will support that. When I was in the Philippines, the internet was so bad that I couldn't take care of my software business in the US. I had a software administration business that required that I get online to do the work I do, and the Philippine internet was so bad I couldn't do it. So pretty soon I didn't have a business, and that you know, kind of hurt because the money went away too. In Vietnam we've got great internet, so it's not a problem here, but I'm already out of that business. So from that standpoint, it didn't work out well. But online teaching works well here, and there are a lot of people that are doing online teaching, especially for China and like that. I've got one friend that has got a good contract, and he's teaching Chinese students over the internet, over Skype. So there are ways to make money, but it's really an important thing to have money and have a safety net for yourself before you head over this way. One thing I want to discuss is bringing things to Southeast Asia. Really, you don't need to bring a lot when you come. When I came, and also when several of my friends came over here, they eBayed everything before they left. I did that, and a lot of friends of mine have done that too. You have to break those attachments to your goods, and the things that you can't bring over here are the things that are just too costly to ship. Some people hire containers and ship all sorts of stuff in, but it's just not a good idea. You can really get everything you need here. So there's not a big reason to ship a bunch of goods from the U.S., especially electric stuff like appliances and things like that. They don't work on this current here. We're at 220/50 cycle, and the U.S. is at 120/60 cycle. So a lot of things won't work. A lot of things these days do work, but overall, it's just not worth it. It's better to buy things for the local current. Also, you don't want to be buying adapters and transformers and things like that. Bringing things over here from the U.S. is not a great idea. You can buy anything over here probably a lot cheaper than you're going to get it in the U.S. or can get it shipped even. So like if you want to get clothes come from here. So there's no reason to bring clothes that you can replace here. My thought is pack light and buy what you want when you get here. You can, like I said, you can sell all your stuff on eBay and put that money aside, and then when you get here you can replace everything that you need. You can have shirts and pants and things tailored here that are cheaper than you can buy them in the U.S. So it's a good thing just to leave everything there and kind of come with a suitcase or a backpack or both and get everything you need when you get here. When I came over, I had 2 suitcases and a backpack. By the time I left the Philippines, you could fill a truck with all the stuff I'd acquired. When I came to Vietnam, I was back to 2 suitcases and a backpack again. I divested myself of all my goods in the Philippines and moved over here. And now I've got a room full of stuff. Well, I've got a house full of stuff. It'd probably take a semi to get all my stuff. A lot of people ask me about how safe it is here. Well, it's like any place. There's places in New York City or Dallas or Houston that I really wouldn't want to be. That's the same here. But bottom line, Vietnam's a pretty safe place. I felt a little bit more nervous in Philippines because Philippines is a gun society. Everybody there has guns and they use them. It's not exactly the safest place. I've had friends that get robbed there and things like that. But still, overall, it's like anything else. Watch what you're doing, watch your back, be careful, don't be in a bad neighborhood, don't be out drinking and stuff when there's no one to walk with you or help you get home safely. Overall, Southeast Asia is probably not worse than any big city in the USA as far as being safe, and it may be safer in a lot of places than it is there. I know here in Vietnam I feel safe walking around at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. In my neighborhoods in the US I never did. So I think that personal safety is not a serious issue here, but you do have to be careful. Also, people talk a lot about scams, and scams are one of those things that I kind of don't like listening to the scam stories. Most scams occur because you were stupid about something. Something was too good to be true and you fell for it. So, you know, don't give me the scam thing. Scams in the tourist areas are everywhere in the world. So it's not worse here. It's not worse in England. It's not worse in New York. It's the same everywhere. So as far as that goes, I'm not real interested in hearing about it. Avoid scams by being smart. So when you've done all that stuff, you've made sure your money's good, you've picked a country, you've gotten there, you've got all your visa stuff straight. There's another thing that is kind of important, is where you live. Personally, I've always liked to live close to an international airport. You never know what's going to happen, you never know when you're going to leave, and also, if you have to make visa runs, it's a lot less expensive if you live in the city with the international airport. Here in Vietnam, I could live in Da Nang, but if I live in Da Nang, I have to fly from Da Nang to Ho Chi Minh and then out to get a visa. And it increases your cost dramatically to get a visa. A lot of people make visa runs to Phnom Penh or the border, and that's cheap, but it's really uncomfortable. So I usually try to plan my holidays about around the same time that I have to make a visa run. That works out pretty good. Of course, I have a one-year visa, so for me it's a one-year situation. For Rhea, it's a little more often because she's Filipina. She has to have her visa renewed every 3 months. So it's pretty important to decide where you're going to live and if you want to bear the extra expense to live away from the big city and the international airport. My last little bit of advice is when you come to another country, don't try to bring your own country with you. It's not a good thing. You have to be ready to come to the country and accept their culture and become a part of it and learn to live in it and enjoy it. Why would you want to go somewhere that you don't enjoy? Living in Vietnam's easy. It's a lot of fun if you enjoy the people and you hang out with them and get to know folks and do things with them. I think you'll really like it. But if you want to isolate yourself into a enclave of expats, that's your decision, but I don't think it's a good decision. I think it's a really bad decision. And overall, I don't think you'll be as happy as you would be if you try to live like the locals and live with the locals. After all, it is their country. You don't have near the pressure in Southeast Asia that you do in the Western countries. Things are a lot easier here. Personal freedom is one of the things that you'll find it's unbelievable. In my state, you couldn't drink a beer in your front yard. I mean, it was just a bad thing to do, and you could get a ticket for it. But here, it's not a problem. You can walk down the street drinking a beer if you really wanted to, but basically they leave you alone. They just don't have the infrastructure and the government infrastructure to mess with you all the time like they do in the West. So I think most people will enjoy that. It's a level of freedom that we don't get in the West. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say about retiring early or retiring at all in Southeast Asia. I think retiring early just means be prepared. Retiring on time means that you've got to learn to like it over here, or you're going to be on your way back home. Living here is one of those things that it's not easy, but it's not hard either. That sounds contradictory, but it's true. One other thing, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is take exploratory trips. I think that's a real important thing. Try Thailand, try Vietnam, try Cambodia, try Philippines. It's not expensive to get there and it's not expensive to stay. It might save you a lot of money in the long run and keep you from making a decision that you absolutely won't be happy with. And don't stay in the tourist spots because you're not going to learn anything there. You need to get out and get among the people. So if you do plan to come on an exploratory trip, try to get outside of the tourist areas and try to get outside of the expat communities. Then you'll learn something. So a lot of people have asked me just exactly what is my opinion on retiring in Southeast Asia, and I've got one. I think it's great, but I think you have to be ready for it. If you can't accept other cultures and you can't eat the food here and you don't want to learn the language, it's going to be tough on you. You really have to get into it. It's another world and you have to be part of it to enjoy your life here. Otherwise, you should just stay in your own country where you know how things work. So that is my opinion. I think that a lot of people will enjoy it, and there's a lot of people that after a few months will be booking a ticket back home. So you can try to live here or you can just make it a long vacation, one or the other. Anyway, this is JR, the Texpat in Saigon. If you have any questions about this, you can write me. My email address is in the channel page, so you can look it up there And I think it's also in the description under all the videos. So just take a look down there and find the address and write me an email, and I'll try to get back with you. Other than that, I want to invite everybody to subscribe, hit the notification bell if you really care to do that, and I want to thank y'all for watching.